So, the Monaco two-stop rule. We saw it in full force this weekend for the Monaco Grand Prix. If you want to see a more detailed look at the Grand Prix itself, do check out my review, which is also out on the channel already. But did the two-stop rule work? Did it mean that we had a more entertaining Monaco Grand Prix? And where do we go from here when it comes to Formula 1 at Monaco? Do we keep this rule going? Do we change it? Do we throw it out and go back to what we had before? What's my kind of take on it? Because it's a very complicated issue, because the quick answer to the question, did this mean that Monaco was more entertaining? The answer to that for me resoundingly was yes. We definitely got more action through the pits, more different strategies and things like that going on. It was definitely a more interesting race, but I also think that it went too far as well in terms of that. Now, as that phrase, you can even have too much of a good thing, and I think we did kind of see that in a sense from Monaco, if you know what I'm saying anyway, when it comes to that, because overall, yeah, the race was more entertaining, there was more stuff happening, but there were a lot of bad side effects, I think, from this rule. I mean, if you look at the standings of the race, we had, the top 5 runners in this race all on the lead lap. Then 6th through 8th were 1 lap down. And then 9th and 10th, Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon were 2 laps down by the finish of the race. Now, you might think, well, that's just because of the pace discrepancy. But remember, this is probably the closest Formula 1 field that we've ever had in the history of the sport. You know, it's not that often that we get guys, more than 1 lap down. It's very rare that drivers finish more than 1 lap down in Formula 1 right now. The field spread was massive during this race, and that wasn't because of the performance of the cars. It was because of the tactics that the teams were using. Now, before I get into this, I'm not having to go at the teams at all. They are very clever. They run all kinds of simulations. They employ some very smart strategies to come up with the best way to maximize their results using the rules that are available to them. And they did that. Teams like RB and Williams did that to the nth degree today. They took advantage of everything they could. They're a Formula 1 team. They're wanting to maximize their results. Simple as that. Points pay prizes. To get points, you've got to finish high up in the standings, and you're going to do everything you can to make sure that is a thing. We've seen this before. Races like Saudi Arabia last year, where Kevin Magnussen held up the entire field, or a large portion of the field anyway, so that Nico Hülkenberg's teammate could score points. He ruined his own race to help his teammate out. We've seen this before. It doesn't happen by accident. This is an actual proper strategy by these teams to do that. But we saw it today on an absolutely industrial scale. We really, really did. It was incredible. You had Liam Lawson holding the field up by such a degree that it allowed his teammate Isaac Hadjar, who was only 2 positions above him, remember. Hadjar was in 6th and Lawson was at 8th at this time. There was not much between them at all. But he slowed the chasing pack up to such a degree that his teammate could do not 1, but 2 pit stops and still get out ahead of him. That needs to be looked at. I don't know what Formula 1 needs to do off the back of this, but I don't think we should see a repeat of that. It was a novel concept. It was giving it a go. It was worth a shot, right? They tried it, and for me, yes, it delivered a more entertaining race, but it also gave credence to a lot of the big criticisms in Formula 1. Formula 1 shouldn't race around Monaco. You can't overtake around Monaco. Remember, we barely saw any on-track overtakes. I don't remember really seeing any. Unless you're going to count Bortoleto and Kimi Antonelli swapping places on the first lap, but that still resulted in a crash. Bortoleto went into the barriers, so we did see a lot more action, I think, because of the rules. So I think overall it achieved its aim of producing a more entertaining race, but the result of that is that we got quite a farcical degree of people being held up. The stuff that Williams and RB were doing, and like I said, I will repeat this again, I am not having to go at the teams. The teams are doing what they're employed to do, and they did it. Simple as that. That's how it works, right? That's Formula 1. People can talk about the sanctity of the Grand Prix and all this and that. They don't care about that. They just want to do the best they can to get as many points as they can. That's what Formula 1's about. It's about the competition, and unfortunately, I think this rule is a bit of a miss. I don't know what you'd do. I don't know whether you would mandate that you have to do your first stop by lap 20 and your second stop by lap 60. I don't know. I don't know what you'd have to do really when it comes to changing the rules around, but James Vowles said it during the coverage of the Formula 1 channel here in the UK on Sky. I think he was absolutely spot on where he said, look, we're doing what we need to do, but this needs to be looked at. We can't have this again next year. And when James Vowles says something, I listen, because the man talks sense. He really, really does. I really like what he has to say. It's very clever, very articulate. puts things very, very well. So I agree with him. I think it can't really continue like this. They got to do something different. It was, I think it was right that they looked at it for Monaco, because Monaco's been an absolute snooze fest. Even as somebody who loves Monaco, I love the Monaco Grand Prix, and I think it should be on the Formula One calendar forever. It's earned its place on there. It deserves its place on there, and it should stay on there. However, it's been boring to watch. Most of the last 4 or 5 races have been terrible. It's not been very entertaining at all. So I do think we need to do something, but this rule needs to be looked at for next year, and they'll do that. They will definitely do that, but what they'll do, I don't know. Let us know your thoughts on this in the comments below. Should the Monaco rule change for next year? Should they keep it the same? Should they abandon this and just go back to the old days where it's the same rules as every other Grand Prix? I want to hear what you have to say in the comments below. Like, share, comment, subscribe as always, and have a fantastic day wherever you're in the world today, guys. We'll see you very soon for much more content on the world of Formula One, just like this.